We could, perhaps, discuss something. I was thinking earlier today, while waiting for the kettle to boil, you know how long that seems to take sometimes? Especially when you're just staring at it? About the vice presidents of the United States. It's a position, wouldn't you agree, that doesn't often get much attention. They're there, of course, performing their duties, whatever those may be, at any given time. But they often seem to fade into the background a bit. I find that rather interesting, don't you, this sort of quiet power they possess? We might delve into that a bit, the quiet power, the vice presidents. Maybe just a list. Nothing too exciting, just a calm recitation. It could be quite soothing, I think.
Yes, the vice presidents. A fascinating topic, though perhaps not in the conventional sense of the word fascinating. More like a gentle, low hum of fascination. Like the refrigerator running in the next room, a constant presence but not something you actively focus on. They're there, these vice presidents, throughout history, standing just slightly to the side of the main action. It's a curious role, really, when you think about it. A sort of understudy for the leading role, but one that rarely gets called upon to perform. We could perhaps explore this idea, this concept of the vice president as a background figure, a quiet presence in the political landscape. It could be quite a calming exercise, I believe, just listing them, one by one.
A calming exercise, yes. Just a simple list, no need for anything flashy or dramatic. Just a straightforward enumeration of the individuals who have held the office of vice president. I was thinking about this the other day, while watching the paint dry on the garden shed. It's a slow process, watching paint dry. And it got me thinking about slow, steady things, like the progression of vice presidents throughout history, each one serving their term. Some longer than others, of course. Some stepping into the presidency, some fading back into relative obscurity. A quiet cycle, wouldn't you say? A steady rhythm of names and dates. We could explore that rhythm, perhaps, in our list.
Yes, a quiet rhythm. Like the ticking of a grandfather clock, slow and deliberate, marking the passage of time. Each tick a vice president, each swing of the pendulum a new administration. And some, as you mentioned, ascending to the presidency, a sudden shift in the rhythm, a brief acceleration. But for the most part, a steady, predictable beat. I find it rather soothing to contemplate, this slow procession of vice presidents. A gentle, unobtrusive element of the political machinery. We could simply list them, I suppose, and let the rhythm lull us into a state of tranquility. Just the names, nothing more, a quiet litany of vice presidents.
A litany of vice presidents. The phrase itself has a certain calming quality, doesn't it? Like a mantra, repeated softly to oneself. John Adams, Thomas Jefferson, and so on. Just the names, as you said. No need for biographical details or historical context, just the names themselves, floating gently in the air like leaves falling from a tree. I was watching the leaves fall just yesterday, and it struck me how peaceful it was, how each leaf drifted down at its own pace, settling softly on the ground, just like the vice presidents, each one settling into their role in history. We could replicate that peacefulness, I believe, with a simple list.
Yes, the names themselves are sufficient. Like pebbles on a beach, smooth and worn by the tide of time. Each one unique, yet part of a larger whole. Just the names, a quiet murmur of history. I was at the beach the other week, watching the waves roll in and out, and it reminded me of the cyclical nature of things. The tide comes in, the tide goes out. Presidents come and go, vice presidents rise and fall. A constant ebb and flow. We could capture that feeling, that gentle rhythm, by simply reciting the names, one by one. A quiet, unhurried list of vice presidents.
An unhurried list. That's precisely what I had in mind. No rush, no pressure, just a gentle, meandering exploration of the vice presidency, like a slow walk through a quiet garden, pausing to observe each flower, each leaf, each blade of grass, and in our case, each vice president. A simple acknowledgement of their existence, their place in the historical tapestry. No need for analysis or interpretation, just a quiet observation. A calm recitation of names.
A calm recitation of names. Yes, that's the essence of it. Just the names, spoken softly, like a lullaby. A gentle way to drift off to sleep, perhaps. I was thinking about sleep earlier, how it comes upon us so gradually, like a soft blanket being drawn over our consciousness. And as we drift off, our thoughts become hazy, indistinct, like clouds passing overhead. Just the names, floating in the clouds of our minds. A quiet, soothing list of vice presidents.
So where were we? Ah yes, John Tyler, the 10th Vice President. He served under William Henry Harrison, who, you might recall, had a remarkably short presidency. Tyler ascended to the presidency after Harrison's demise. It's a rather interesting historical footnote, if you're into that sort of thing. I often wonder about the specifics of their working relationship, though I suppose the details are probably lost to the mists of time. One can only speculate about their conversations, their policy discussions, even the mundane aspects of their daily interactions. Did they take tea together? Perhaps they preferred coffee. These are the questions that keep me awake at night, though admittedly not for very long. It's all rather tedious, really.
Yes, tedious indeed. John Tyler, the 10th Vice President. It's a position that has seen its fair share of, shall we say, less than remarkable individuals. Not to disparage Mr. Tyler, of course, but it's a role that often fades into the background, overshadowed by the more prominent figure of the president. One can easily forget their names, their faces, their contributions, if any. And yet, they are a vital part of the governmental machine, ready to step in should the need arise. It's a rather curious position when you think about it. Waiting in the wings, so to speak. Like an understudy in a grand play, always prepared but rarely called upon to perform the leading role. It's all rather predictable.
Predictable indeed. Then we have George M. Dallas, the 11th Vice President, serving under James K. Polk, a name that echoes faintly through the corridors of history. I'm sure he did something. I seem to recall he was involved in politics. Or perhaps it was diplomacy. The details are rather fuzzy, aren't they? It all blends together after a while. This long procession of vice presidents. A seemingly endless chain of names and dates, stretching back through the annals of American history. It's quite a lot to take in, wouldn't you agree?
A lot to take in, absolutely. George M. Dallas, serving under James K. Polk. One can almost picture them, these men of history, in their stiff collars and formal attire. Engaged in important discussions, no doubt, about matters of state and national importance. Or perhaps they simply sat and stared out the window, contemplating the weighty responsibilities of their office. Who can say for certain? It's all speculation, really. A tapestry woven from fragments of information and educated guesses. History is a curious thing. And rather dull, at times. Like watching paint dry, wouldn't you say?
Like watching paint dry, precisely. Next, we have Millard Fillmore, the 12th Vice President, serving under Zachary Taylor. Another name, another face, another brief flicker in the grand panorama of American politics. One wonders what motivated these men to seek such a position. Was it ambition, a sense of civic duty? Perhaps a combination of both. It's difficult to say. Their motivations are likely as varied and complex as the individuals themselves. I suppose we'll never truly know. It's one of history's many unsolved mysteries, although perhaps not the most compelling one.
Not the most compelling, certainly. Millard Fillmore, serving under Zachary Taylor. It's a pattern that repeats itself throughout history. A president and his vice president, two figures bound together by circumstance and the machinations of political maneuvering. One can only imagine the pressures and challenges they faced. The long hours, the endless meetings, the constant scrutiny of the public eye. It must have been quite taxing. Though I suppose it's all relative. Taxing in a different way than, say, manual labor. Or perhaps not so different after all.
Perhaps not so different. And then there's William R. King, the 13th Vice President, who served under Franklin Pierce, another figure who drifts in and out of historical focus. I believe he was sworn in somewhere. Or perhaps I'm misremembering. The details are so elusive. One tries to grasp them, to hold on to the specifics, but they slip away like grains of sand through one's fingers. It's rather frustrating, isn't it? Trying to reconstruct the past from such incomplete fragments.
Frustrating indeed. William R. King, serving under Franklin Pierce. Another piece of the puzzle, another name added to the long list of vice presidents. One could spend a lifetime studying these men, delving into the minutiae of their lives and careers. And yet, what would be the point? What would we truly learn? Would it change anything? I doubt it. It's all rather academic, wouldn't you agree?
Academic? Absolutely. And so, the procession continues. An endless parade of names and dates, stretching on and on into the dimly lit recesses of history. It can be quite overwhelming, trying to keep track of it all. One almost wishes for a simpler time, a time with fewer vice presidents to remember. Though I suppose that's just wishful thinking.
Wishful thinking, indeed. It's a long and winding road, this journey through the history of American vice presidents. And we've only just begun. So many more names to come, so many more details to, well, not exactly explore, but rather to acknowledge. It's a daunting task, wouldn't you say? This meticulous cataloging of historical figures. But we shall persevere. We must.
As we were saying before, we're meticulously going through every single vice president of the United States. It's a long list, and we're taking our time, which I think is the most effective approach for this particular endeavor. Remember, thoroughness over speed is key. We've already covered several, and we'll cover several more today. It's quite a task, wouldn't you agree, to discuss each one individually, recounting their time in office, and providing some basic biographical information. And of course, we're not just naming them, we're providing context, however minimal. This comprehensive approach will help you gently drift off to sleep. We're aiming for a calm, peaceful atmosphere here.
Yes, a calm and peaceful atmosphere is our ultimate goal. As you mentioned, we've discussed a few already, and there are more to come. It's quite a list, isn't it? A long and distinguished, if somewhat repetitive, list of individuals who served as second in command. We're going through them systematically, methodically, one by one, to ensure comprehensive coverage. It's a slow and steady process, but that's what makes it so conducive to sleep. Just listening to the names and dates, and the rather uneventful details of their lives, can be surprisingly soporific. We're back to reminding you, as we often do, of the goal of this podcast: peaceful, restful sleep.
So to reiterate, we're progressing through this extensive list of vice presidents. We're not skipping anyone, no matter how briefly they served. Each vice president holds a place in history, a significant position within the U.S. government, and we're taking our time with each one, providing a gentle and monotonous recounting of their time in office. It's not about excitement. It's about relaxation. It's about creating a calming soundscape to help you drift off. We're emphasizing the methodical, the repetitive, the, dare I say, dull aspects of this historical review. That's the secret, you see, to a good night's sleep.
Precisely. Dullness is the key. We're aiming for a steady, unchanging rhythm in our voices, a predictable cadence that promotes relaxation. We're meticulously going through this list, providing just the basic facts. No anecdotes, no thrilling stories, just the names, the dates, and their position as vice president. It's a surprisingly effective way to encourage sleep. As we mentioned earlier, it's a long list, a comprehensive list, and we're taking our time with it. We're not rushing. We're savoring the monotony. We're embracing the bland.
Bland is beautiful, especially when it comes to sleep. We're back to this idea of a comprehensive list, which is what we're committed to providing. We want to ensure complete coverage of every single vice president. It's a long journey, this methodical exploration of American history, but a worthwhile one. We're providing a service, a sleep-inducing service. We're offering a gentle, repetitive narrative to lull you into slumber. Think of it as a verbal lullaby, a spoken sedative. The more monotonous, the better.
Yes, a verbal lullaby. A soothing, sleep-inducing recitation of names and dates. We've mentioned the length of the list before, and we'll probably mention it again. It's important to understand the scope of this project. We're dedicated to covering every single vice president, and as we said before, that takes time. We're not cutting corners, we're being thorough. We're providing a complete, if somewhat tedious, account of each individual's time in office. It's all part of the plan, the sleep plan.
The sleep plan, exactly. It's a well-crafted strategy designed for maximum sleep inducement. And a core component of that plan is repetition. We repeat key phrases, we reiterate important points, and we revisit previously discussed information. It's all about creating a sense of predictability, a soothing rhythm that encourages relaxation and sleep. As we've mentioned before, we're going through every vice president. We're taking our time, providing just the bare minimum of information, ensuring a calm, peaceful listening experience.
Calm and peaceful, those are the key words. And repetition, as you rightly pointed out, plays a crucial role. We're repeating ourselves, revisiting previous points, going over the same ground again and again. It's all intentional, all part of the sleep plan. We're not just rambling, we're strategically employing repetition to promote relaxation and encourage sleep. We're meticulously, methodically moving through this long list of vice presidents, offering a bland and uneventful narrative that's perfect for drifting off to sleep.
We're back again for another installment of this series about U.S. vice presidents. As you may recall, we're going through the entire list, one by one. It's a long list, and we're making our way through it slowly and methodically. There's a lot to cover, and we're not in any rush. We're taking our time, and we're being thorough. We talked about the early vice presidents in the first few parts. Now we're moving into a period where the vice presidency started to evolve, or at least, that's what some historians might say. It's all a matter of perspective, really. The changes were subtle, gradual. Not much to get excited about, honestly.
Yes, that's right. We're progressing through the list. It's a long and perhaps somewhat tedious journey, but we're committed to covering each vice president. We're moving at a steady pace, and that's important. Consistency is key. We've already covered a few vice presidents, and we'll continue to cover them one by one. As you may remember, we're simply stating their names and providing a bit of background. Not much else, just a basic, factual overview. It's a straightforward approach, and that's what we're aiming for. Nothing too flashy or exciting. Just the facts.
Exactly. Just the facts. We're not here to analyze or interpret. We're just presenting the information as it is. We're not trying to draw any grand conclusions or offer any profound insights. It's just a simple recounting of the vice presidents who have served. It's a historical record, in a way. Or maybe not. It's hard to say. It's just information, really. Just names and dates and a few details. Not very stimulating, but it's what we're doing. We're providing a service, of sorts. A sleep aid, perhaps. Something to listen to as you drift off.
A sleep aid, yes. That's a good way to put it. We're providing a calm, monotonous recitation of historical data. Not exactly thrilling, but it serves a purpose. We're going through the list systematically. It's a long list, as we've mentioned. We're being thorough, taking our time. We're not skipping anyone. Each vice president gets their turn. It's a methodical process, and that's how we like it. Slow and steady. No surprises. Just the steady, predictable rhythm of our voices.
This part of the list, as I was saying, is where the vice presidency, well, it sort of changed a little. Or maybe it didn't. It's debatable. Historians have different opinions. And who are we to say who's right? It's all just interpretation. Subjective. We're not here to offer interpretations, though. We're just presenting the facts. Just the names and dates and basic information. No analysis, no opinions. Just a steady stream of information delivered in a calm, monotone voice. Hopefully, a sleep-inducing voice.
The changes, if there were any, were very subtle. Almost imperceptible. Nothing dramatic, certainly. The role of the vice president remained largely the same. To be there, waiting. A backup, essentially. A standby. Not a very exciting role, admittedly. But an important one, nonetheless. Or perhaps not. It depends on your perspective. We're not here to offer perspectives, though. We're just stating the facts. Presenting the information. Slowly, methodically. In a calm, even tone. A tone designed to soothe and relax. To lull you to sleep.
We're not trying to be entertaining. We're not trying to be engaging. We're simply providing a long, drawn-out list of vice presidents, with a few details about each one. Nothing too in-depth. Just surface-level information. Presented in a monotone voice. A voice that's meant to be calming, soothing. A voice that encourages sleep. That's our goal, to help you fall asleep. To provide a background noise that's so uninteresting, so monotonous, that it helps you drift off into a peaceful slumber.
So, as we continue through this list, just remember that our goal is not to inform or educate, not really. Our primary purpose is to bore you. To lull you to sleep with the sheer monotony of our voices. We're reciting the names and details of these vice presidents in a way that is deliberately designed to be uninteresting. We're striving for maximum boredom. We want you to be so bored that you can't help but fall asleep. That's the whole point of this podcast. To help you sleep.
We're back again, continuing our comprehensive and, dare I say, exhaustive journey through the rather static landscape of U.S. vice presidents. As you may recall from our previous installments, which, if you haven't heard, well, you probably wouldn't be here now, we're methodically working our way through a list, offering what some might call a description of each individual who held this often overlooked, yet constitutionally significant, position. We're currently somewhere in the middle, I believe, a bit like being adrift on a becalmed sea of historical minutiae. It's quite calming, actually. I find myself starting to drift off just thinking about it. Anyway, where were we? Ah, yes, the vice presidents.
Yes, the vice presidents. A fascinating, if somewhat repetitive, procession of individuals who have occupied the second highest office in the land. We've covered quite a few already, haven't we? I seem to recall discussing their roles, their responsibilities, or perhaps the lack thereof, in some cases. It's really rather remarkable how little some of them seem to do, at least in comparison to the modern vice presidency. One wonders what they filled their days with. Perhaps long walks, contemplating the constitutional intricacies of their position? Or maybe just an abundance of leisurely lunches. It's all rather a mystery shrouded in the mists of time. But we press on, diligently unearthing these figures from the annals of history.
Indeed, we press on. Undeterred by the sheer volume of, frankly, rather uneventful biographical data. We're like dedicated archaeologists, carefully brushing away the dust of time to reveal, well, more dust, really. But it's important work nonetheless. We're building a foundation, a solid, if somewhat monotonous, foundation of vice presidential knowledge. Brick by metaphorical brick, or perhaps grain by grain of sand, slowly accumulating into a vast, and frankly, rather bland, desert of historical information. Still, it's important to know these things, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Vital, even. One never knows when the need to recall the name of the 18th vice president might arise. It could be the key to winning a trivia night, or perhaps impressing a particularly historically minded acquaintance. Or not. But still, the knowledge is there, tucked away in the recesses of our minds, like a well-preserved, yet rarely consulted, historical document. It's comforting, in a way. Like a warm blanket on a cold night. Or a slightly lukewarm cup of tea. Not particularly exciting, but reliably there.
It's the reliability that counts, I suppose. The steadfast, unwavering commitment to cataloging these individuals, one after the other, like meticulously arranging stamps in an album. Or perhaps alphabetizing a spice rack. There's a certain satisfaction in the order of it all. A neat, linear progression through time. One vice president followed by another, and another, and another. It's a soothing rhythm, a gentle lullaby of historical data. One could almost fall asleep listening to it.
Almost. It's the subtle nuances, the slight variations in their tenures, that keep us engaged. One served for a full term, another for only a few months. One hailed from the east, another from the west. These subtle differences, these tiny ripples in the otherwise placid waters of vice presidential history, are what make it all so, well, tolerable. Like a very long, very slow-moving river. It might not be exciting, but it's definitely getting somewhere. Eventually.
Eventually. That's the key word. We're in this for the long haul. Dedicated to the slow, methodical, and undeniably monotonous task of chronicling the lives and times of these often forgotten figures. We're like patient gardeners, tending to a rather unassuming patch of historical soil, weeding out the irrelevancies, cultivating the facts, and patiently waiting for the seeds of knowledge to sprout. It's a slow process, but a rewarding one. In its own way.
Absolutely. We're not here for fireworks or dramatic pronouncements. We're here for the quiet satisfaction of a job well done. The meticulous, almost painstakingly detailed, recounting of vice presidential history. It's a niche interest, to be sure, but one that we embrace wholeheartedly. Like a comfortable old armchair. Not particularly stylish, but undeniably comfortable. One could easily drift off in such a chair, surrounded by the soothing sounds of historical recitation. And so we continue, our journey through the annals of vice presidential history. A journey marked by its unwavering commitment to thoroughness, its meticulous attention to detail, and its frankly rather soporific nature. But we wouldn't have it any other way, would we? It's like a long, leisurely walk on a cloudy afternoon. Not particularly exciting, but pleasantly uneventful. And sometimes, that's exactly what one needs.
So where were we? Ah yes, vice presidents. We covered quite a few already, haven't we? It's remarkable how many individuals have held this position, when you think about it. I mean, they're a heartbeat away from the presidency, which is a pretty big deal. But most people probably couldn't name more than a handful. It's a curious thing, really. We often focus so much on the presidents themselves, and the vice presidents tend to fade into the background. Somewhat. It's almost as if they're there but not really there, you know? Sort of a silent partner in the whole presidential enterprise. And yet, they're an essential part of the system. It's fascinating.
Yes, it is quite a long list. And like you said, it's easy to overlook the vice presidents. They are an important part of the government, of course, ready to step in if needed. But they often don't get the same level of attention or recognition as the presidents. They're almost like understudies in a play, waiting in the wings. You might not even know they're there until they're called upon to take center stage. And even then, it's often under unfortunate circumstances. It's a strange kind of role when you consider it. A lot of waiting, a lot of preparation, and the hope that they'll never actually have to perform the main role. It's quite a unique position. Very unique.
Indeed. And speaking of unique, each vice president's tenure is, well, unique. They each bring their own background and experiences to the role, which shapes how they approach the job. Some have been more active than others, some more vocal, some more present, I suppose you could say. It really depends on the individual and the president they serve under. It's a dynamic relationship, to be sure. And the dynamics shift with each new administration, of course, which makes it all the more interesting. Or perhaps not, depending on your perspective. But interesting nonetheless. It's a complex interplay between the president and the vice president. Very complex.
Yes, complex is a good word for it. The relationship between the president and the vice president can be quite intricate. They have to work together, of course, but they also have their own agendas and ambitions. It's a delicate balance, and it can be challenging to maintain. Sometimes they're close allies, other times they're more distant. It really just depends on the individuals involved and the circumstances. There are so many factors that can influence the dynamic. It's a constant negotiation, in a way. A constant give and take. And it plays out on a very public stage, which adds another layer of complexity to the whole thing. Quite fascinating.
Fascinating, yes. It's a subject that could be studied endlessly, I imagine. The nuances of the vice presidency, the historical context, the personalities involved, there's so much to consider. We could spend hours discussing it, I suppose, but we should probably move on with our list. We still have quite a few vice presidents to cover, after all. And we wouldn't want to bore our listeners with too much detail, even though it's all very important, in its own way. It's a delicate balance, providing enough information without overwhelming the audience. It's a tricky thing.
Absolutely. It's a fine line we're walking here. We want to be informative, but not overwhelming. Engaging, but not too stimulating. It's a challenge, finding that perfect balance. And like you said, there's so much information to cover. So many vice presidents, each with their own story to tell. It's quite a task, trying to condense all of that into a digestible format. A very daunting task, if you ask me. But we'll persevere. We'll keep going, one vice president at a time. Slowly but surely, we'll make our way through the list.
Slowly but surely. Yes, that's the key. We're in no rush, after all. This isn't a race. It's a journey. A long and winding journey through the annals of American history, and the vice presidency is just one small part of that larger story. But it's an important part nonetheless. A vital piece of the puzzle. And we'll keep exploring it, bit by bit, one vice president at a time. Methodically and thoroughly. That's our approach.
Methodical and thorough. I like that. It's important to be systematic when dealing with such a vast amount of information. We need a framework, a structure, to guide us through this historical labyrinth. Otherwise, we might get lost in the details. And there are a lot of details, as we've already established. So many names, so many dates, so many facts. It can be overwhelming if we don't approach it in a structured manner. Very overwhelming.
We've been discussing the vice presidents for quite a while now. And it's remarkable how many individuals have held this position. I think it's important to remember that each vice president has their own story. Though we haven't been delving into those stories. Rather, we are simply acknowledging their existence and the fact that they served as vice president. This role, of course, is secondary to the president, but essential nonetheless. It's a position that often gets overlooked. And sometimes, the vice president ascends to the presidency, which adds another layer of complexity to the whole affair. We're steadily moving through the list, and it's quite a long list, as you may have noticed. We're not even close to the end, but we'll get there eventually, slowly and steadily.
Yes, the vice presidency is an interesting topic, although we're not exploring it in great depth. We're more or less just mentioning the names of the vice presidents, which is informative in its own way. Thinking about the sheer number of vice presidents over the years is quite something. Each one served alongside a president, fulfilling their duties as required by the Constitution. It's a position of significant responsibility, even if it doesn't always seem that way. We've covered quite a few vice presidents already, and there are still more to come in this long, and perhaps somewhat monotonous, recitation. It's a testament to the longevity of the United States and its system of government. We could certainly go into more detail, but that's not the focus here.
Indeed, we're continuing our methodical journey through the list of vice presidents. We're not analyzing their policies or accomplishments, simply acknowledging their service. Each vice president has a unique place in history, even if we're not exploring those unique aspects today. We're focusing on the basic fact of their vice presidency, which in itself is quite a lot to consider. The list is long, and as we continue, you might find yourself drifting off to sleep. This is intentional, of course. The purpose is to provide a calm and repetitive experience. And the long list of vice presidents lends itself well to this purpose. We're simply moving from one name to the next, creating a soothing, monotonous rhythm.
It's a repetitive process, this listing of vice presidents. We're not delving into the intricacies of their lives or their political careers. We're simply mentioning their names and the fact that they held the office of vice president. It's a rather basic approach, I admit, but it serves our purpose of creating a calming, sleep-inducing atmosphere. There's a certain rhythm to it, a predictable pattern of name after name. It's almost meditative in its simplicity. And the length of the list adds to the effect, stretching out the experience and allowing your mind to wander. It's interesting to think about the historical context surrounding each vice president, but we won't be doing that today. Our focus is on the simple act of listing.
We're progressing through the list, not necessarily making any profound observations. It's more about the steady, consistent rhythm of naming each vice president. It's a long list, as we've already mentioned several times, and we're still not near the end. Each vice president served a term, or perhaps multiple terms, alongside a president. The vice presidency is a constitutional office, and it's an important part of the American system of government. We're not really discussing the historical context or significance of each vice presidency, but simply acknowledging the existence of each individual who held the office. This is a deliberate choice, designed to create a calm and repetitive experience.
Yes, the steady enumeration of vice presidents continues. It's a rather dry and factual approach, I suppose, but that's the intention. We're not aiming for excitement or in-depth analysis. The goal is to create a soothing and monotonous experience, and the list of vice presidents is well suited for this purpose. Each name represents a period in American history, a time when that particular individual held the office of vice president. We could go into more detail about their lives and careers, but that would defeat the purpose of this exercise. We're simply listing them, one after the other, in a calm and predictable manner.
The list goes on, and so do we. We're continuing our methodical journey through the vice presidents of the United States. Each name represents a person who held the second highest office in the country. It's a position of considerable responsibility, although we aren't exploring that in any detail. We're simply acknowledging their service, their time spent as vice president. The length of the list is quite significant, and it allows us to create this extended, repetitive experience. It's almost hypnotic, the way the names flow one after another. We're not offering any insights or analyses, just the names themselves.
We continue with our list, a long and perhaps somewhat tedious recitation of vice presidents. Each name represents an individual who served in this important role. The vice presidency is a crucial part of the American government, though we're not delving into that here. Instead, we're focusing on the simple act of listing, the repetitive rhythm of name after name. This creates a calm and predictable experience, which is conducive to relaxation and sleep. It's not particularly exciting, but it's effective in its simplicity. We could certainly delve into the details of each vice presidency, but that's not our objective here.
As we move further down the list, the names continue to flow. Each one represents a vice president, an individual who held this important position. We're not providing any additional information, just the names themselves. This repetitive approach is intentional, designed to create a calming and monotonous experience. It's a long list, as we've mentioned before, and it lends itself well to this purpose. We could explore the historical context surrounding each vice president, but we're choosing not to. Our focus is on the simple act of listing. It's a subtle but effective way to promote relaxation.
The names continue, each one representing a term as vice president. This repetitive listing, this methodical recitation, is intended to be calming and sleep-inducing. We're not exploring the intricacies of each vice presidency, just the simple fact of their existence. It's a long list, as we've noted several times, and we're still not finished. The vice presidency is an important position, but we're not discussing its significance or responsibilities in detail. Our focus remains on the steady, monotonous flow of names, creating a soothing and predictable rhythm. It's a simple approach, but it serves our purpose well.
So, we were discussing the vice presidents, and I just realized something rather mundane, I suppose. We haven't really talked about their lack of hobbies, have we? I mean, not specifically. I'm sure they had hobbies. Everyone has something they do in their spare time, presumably. I wonder if John Adams enjoyed whittling, or perhaps birdwatching. Or maybe he just sat and stared out the window. I've been doing a lot of that lately. Staring, not whittling. Although I suppose whittling could be quite relaxing. We could do a whole episode on whittling sometime. Why not, though? Anyway, back to the vice presidents. I bet their hobbies weren't very exciting. Probably not.
You're right, it's not something that comes up often, the hobbies of historical figures, especially the vice presidents. They're often overshadowed by the presidents, aren't they? It's rather a shame, really. I imagine some of them must have had fascinating pastimes. Perhaps they collected stamps, or enjoyed a quiet game of checkers. Or maybe they liked to press flowers. That's a rather calming hobby, pressing flowers. I've never tried it myself, but it sounds peaceful. Like whittling, I suppose. We could discuss flower pressing, too. Maybe combine it with an episode on gardening. Although, is gardening a hobby? Or is it a chore? I'm not entirely sure. It probably depends on the person. Anyway, where were we? Oh yes, the vice presidents and their elusive hobbies.
I wonder if any of them played an instrument. The piano, perhaps? Or the flute? Something refined, you know? Something befitting their station, although I suppose some of them might have enjoyed the banjo. It's a rather jovial instrument, the banjo. I imagine a vice president sitting on the porch, plucking away at a banjo. It's a rather amusing image. Perhaps not very historically accurate, but amusing nonetheless. They probably had more serious pursuits. Like reading. I wonder what sort of books they read. Probably very long, complicated books about politics and philosophy, not like the books I read. I mostly read, well, never mind. It's not important. The vice presidents, yes. Their hobbies. A mystery for the ages.
Reading is a good hobby. I enjoy reading, or at least, I used to. I don't seem to have much time for it these days. Too much other stuff. Like thinking about the vice presidents and their hobbies. It's quite a consuming topic when you really delve into it. Which we haven't, really. We've just skirted around the edges. Like a ship circling a drain. Slowly, inexorably drawn inwards. That's a bit dramatic, isn't it? Perhaps a bit too exciting for this podcast. We should try to stay calm and, well, boring, really. It's what the listeners expect. A calm, boring voice droning on about the vice presidents. And their hobbies, or lack thereof.
Perhaps they didn't have hobbies. Perhaps they were too busy being vice presidents. It's a demanding job, I imagine. Lots of standing around, looking important. Attending events, shaking hands, smiling, that sort of thing. It must be tiring. I wouldn't want to be a vice president. Too much responsibility. Too much smiling. I prefer a quiet life, a life of contemplation. And podcasts. Mostly podcasts. About vice presidents. And their, well, you know. Their lack of documented hobbies. It's a fascinating topic. In its own way. Or perhaps not. It's hard to say.
Yes, it's certainly something. This whole discussion about vice presidential hobbies, or, as we've established, the apparent lack thereof. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? What did they do with all their spare time? Assuming they had any. Perhaps they just rested. A lot of resting. It's important to rest. I should probably rest more. But then I wouldn't have time to think about the vice presidents. And their hobbies, or lack thereof. It's a vicious cycle. A cycle of, well, I'm not sure what kind of cycle it is. A monotonous cycle, perhaps. A calming cycle. A sleep-inducing cycle. That's what we're aiming for, isn't it? A sleep-inducing podcast.
Indeed. Sleep-inducing. That's the goal, and I think we're achieving it. With our long, rambling sentences, and our repetitive phrases, and our focus on the utterly mundane, the vice presidents, and their, well, their hypothetical hobbies. Or the absence thereof. It's all rather soporific. Like a warm bath. Or a gentle rocking motion. Or a very long, boring book about, something boring. Like the history of paperclips. Or the different types of dust. Yes, dust. That would be a good topic for a sleep podcast. The various types of dust. And their origins. Fascinating. Or not.
Dust. Yes, dust. That's something. A topic for another day, perhaps. Or not. We should probably stick to the vice presidents. For now. And their, well, we've been over this. Their hobbies. Or the lack thereof. It's a fascinating topic in its own way. Or perhaps not. It's hard to say. Perhaps we should move on to another aspect of the vice presidency. Something equally unexciting. Something guaranteed to lull our listeners into a peaceful slumber. Something like, their shoe sizes, or their favorite types of stationery. Yes, stationery. That's a good one. Stationery.
We've covered a considerable number of vice presidents now, haven't we? It's quite a list when you consider them all together, stretching back through American history. So many individuals, each with their own unique background and, I suppose, contributions to the office. It's interesting to reflect on the progression of the vice presidency, how it's evolved. Though I'm not entirely sure how it has, to be honest. Thinking about all these men, and a few women more recently, holding this position, it makes you consider the sheer passage of time, the sweep of history. And yet, here we are, at the end of another day, another discussion. It's rather calming, in a way, this slow recitation of names and dates. Or maybe it's just me.
Yes, it is a long list. A testament, perhaps, to the endurance of the American political system. Or maybe not. It's hard to say definitively. We've seen vice presidents from all walks of life, different regions, different eras. They all served, fulfilling their duties, whatever those may have been at the time. We've talked about so many of them, their roles, their tenures. It's difficult to keep them all straight, honestly. They blend together after a while, a long procession of names and faces fading into the past. It's a curious thing, this historical record, the way we document these individuals. It's almost like a lullaby, listing all these names, their dates of service, their existence.
We're nearing the end of our list now. Just a few more vice presidents to go, if I recall correctly. I'm not entirely sure what overall conclusions we can draw from this lengthy exercise. It's been an informative journey, if somewhat tedious. We've learned about so many individuals who held the office, each one a part of the larger narrative of American history. Or perhaps they weren't. It's difficult to say with certainty. Their contributions, their influence, their legacies, it's all a bit blurry. Like an old photograph, faded and indistinct.
Yes, blurry is a good word for it. It's remarkable how quickly these figures recede into the background, how their individual stories become absorbed into the larger, overarching narrative. Or maybe they never were distinct stories to begin with. Perhaps they were always just part of the background noise, the hum of history. We've discussed their lives, their careers, their time in office. But what does it all really mean? It's a question I often find myself pondering. I'm not sure we've arrived at any meaningful answers. Perhaps that wasn't the point. Maybe there isn't a point. Perhaps it's just a list. A long, somewhat monotonous list.
A long, monotonous list indeed. And yet, it's a list that tells a story, doesn't it? Or maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's just a collection of names and dates. A dry recitation of facts. But even in that dryness, there's something compelling. Or maybe not. Perhaps it's simply the late hour. The weariness settling in. It's difficult to maintain focus, to discern any real significance. It's all rather soothing, in a way, this quiet contemplation of history. This gentle drift into the past.
Soothing, yes. Like the slow turning of pages in a dusty old book. Each page a new vice president, a new story, a new something. It's hard to put one's finger on it. We've covered so much ground, so many years, so many men. And a few women, as we mentioned before. Their lives, their service, I've lost my train of thought. It's all rather hazy now. The lines blurring, the details fading. Like a dream half remembered. Or maybe not even a dream. Just nothingness. A pleasant, peaceful nothingness.
Nothingness. A fitting word, perhaps. Or perhaps not. It's hard to say with any degree of certainty. We've explored the vice presidency in some detail, haven't we? Or maybe we haven't. It's all a bit muddled now. The names, the dates, the everything. It's all swirling together, merging into a single, indistinct something. It's difficult to articulate. The words seem to lose their meaning, their weight. Like feathers drifting on a gentle breeze.
Feathers. Yes, that's a good analogy. Light, weightless, drifting off, into sleep. The vice presidents, the history, the everything. It's all fading away now. Like the last embers of a dying fire. A soft glow, a gentle warmth, and then nothing. Just the quiet hum of silence.
We've reached the 10th and final installment of our series on U.S. vice presidents. It's been a long journey, hasn't it? Thinking back to when we started. It feels like, just yesterday, we were discussing John Adams and his powdered wig. Or was it Thomas Jefferson? They all sort of blend together after a while. These men who stood just a heartbeat away from the presidency. So many vice presidents, so much history. We've covered so much ground. From the early days of the Republic to the modern era. It's a lot to take in, I know. And honestly, I'm feeling a little sleepy just thinking about it all. We've discussed so many names, so many dates. It's quite the undertaking, this recounting of vice presidents.
Yes, it's been a comprehensive overview, to say the least. From John Adams all the way to, well, the present day. It's quite a list when you consider the sheer number of individuals who have held the office. And we've talked about each of them, haven't we? Each one with their own, unique, I suppose, place in history. It's a lot to remember, certainly. Thinking back to the beginning of this series, it feels like quite a while ago. We've come a long way. So many vice presidents, so much history to absorb. We've covered a significant amount of historical ground. It can be quite overwhelming, the sheer volume of information. I'm starting to feel a little drowsy myself, just thinking about it all. So many names, so many dates, it's a lot.
We started with John Adams, of course, the first vice president. And then we moved on to Thomas Jefferson, the second. And after that, there was Aaron Burr. It's all a bit of a blur now, if I'm being honest. So many names and dates. It's hard to keep them all straight. We've talked about so many men who have held this particular office, this position of vice president. It's a long list, a very long list indeed, from the earliest days of the nation to the present time. It's a lot to process. And I must admit, I'm feeling rather tired just thinking about it all. So much history. So many vice presidents. A truly extensive list.
Yes, a very extensive list. We discussed John Adams, then Thomas Jefferson, then Aaron Burr. It's a lot to recall, isn't it? All those names and dates. So many individuals who served as vice president. It's difficult to keep track of them all, to be perfectly frank. We've covered a considerable amount of ground in this series. From the founding fathers to the modern era. It's quite a span of time, quite a range of historical figures. It's understandable to feel a bit overwhelmed by it all. I'm feeling quite sleepy myself, actually. So many names, so many dates. It can be quite tiresome, this recounting of historical figures.
We've talked about so many vice presidents. From the early days of the Republic to the more recent times. It's quite a journey we've taken, exploring the lives and times of these men. It can be rather tedious, to be honest. So many names, so many faces, they all start to blur together after a while. It's hard to keep them all distinct in one's mind. From John Adams to, well, you know, the present day, we've covered a lot of historical ground. It's quite a bit of information to absorb. I'm feeling quite drowsy just thinking about it all.
Indeed, it is a considerable amount of information. From John Adams to the present day. We've covered a significant portion of American history in our discussion of these vice presidents. Each one played a role, however small or large, in the shaping of the nation. It's a lot to take in, all these names and dates. It can be quite tiring, this detailed examination of historical figures. It's understandable to feel a bit drowsy after such a comprehensive review. From the early years of the Republic to the modern era, so many vice presidents. It's quite a remarkable thing to consider.
It is remarkable. All these men who held the office of vice president, each one with their own story, their own place in history, from the founding fathers to, well, the present day. We've covered a vast amount of historical territory. It's quite a journey we've taken together, and it's quite exhausting, if I'm being perfectly honest. So many names, so many dates, so much history. It can be overwhelming. I'm feeling quite sleepy now, thinking about it all. So much information to process.
Yes, so much information. From the beginning of the Republic to the current day, we've covered a substantial amount of history. So many vice presidents, each with their own unique contribution, or lack thereof. It's a long list of names, a long procession of individuals who have held this particular office. It's a lot to remember, certainly. And I, too, am feeling quite tired. It's quite a mental exercise, recalling all these names and dates. It can be quite draining, this exploration of historical figures.
A draining experience indeed. So many vice presidents, so much history. It's difficult to know what to make of it all, really. From John Adams to the present day. A long line of individuals who have held this position. It's a lot to consider. I suppose it's important to remember these men, these vice presidents. But I'm not entirely sure why. Perhaps we'll revisit this topic another time.
Perhaps. It's certainly a topic that warrants further reflection. Maybe. So many vice presidents, so much history. It's a lot to process, and honestly, I'm not entirely sure what conclusions to draw from it all. It's a topic that perhaps deserves further exploration, though I'm not quite sure when that will be. Maybe someday. But for now, I think it's best to simply let it all sink in. Or perhaps not.